And we are recording.
Are we gonna go? What's up, everybody? It's Jaryn from Berkshire Bike and Board, and I am coming at you with another weekly shop, group ride, all things Berkshire Bike and Board update. So, a few things. First up is this. Group rides are probably the most fun thing we can do on our bicycles, but also some of the most dangerous. You know, riding our bikes along at 15 to 20 miles an hour, 2 inches behind, 10 people in front of us is not always the safest thing to do. With that being said, we want to do our best to try and create a safe group ride environment. And really, how do we do that is it's up to each and every one of us to create space and distance between each other. A couple like minor things that go a long way to helping keeping our group ride safe. Number one, know your ability level and know who's around you, right? Some people are more experienced, they're steadier, they have a better way about them on a group ride. You want to stick near those people, stick close to those people. The other thing is, if somebody's new, they're a little bit less experienced, give them a little bit more space than you would the next person. You know, let them kind of do their own thing, and you know, depending on the timing, you can always provide a little bit of insight of like, hey, we usually do this way, we always do this that way. But remember, you were that new person once as well, and we want to be as inclusive as possible when trying to get people to come along on these rides. We don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, is maybe the better way to put it. With that being said, one thing that I think is super important, it gets overlooked a lot, but it is the biggest thing we can do to keeping safe out on the road, that is not crossing wheels with one another. So, what is crossing wheels? If this is me on my bike and I'm following this person right here, and this is their back wheel, if we're riding along and essentially I pull up next to their wheel, a little overlap, it's a recipe for disaster. Why? As soon as there's a pothole or somebody flinches one way or somebody says something and that person in front of you drifts a little bit to the left or the right, you're going down. It's just a fact of the matter. So, you know, what's a safe distance is dependent on the group, the speed, there's a lot of variables, but give somebody at least a bike length if they're in front of you. 2 bike lengths is safer. 10 feet is safer. I'm not gonna say this is the way to do it, but again, the more the merrier if you want to play it safe. With that said, this particular week for us here in the Berkshires is probably the most exciting week to be a road cyclist on a bicycle. Why? The Josh Billings is this Sunday, September 18th, I believe the date is. Everyone and their brother and their sister comes to the Berkshires to race in what is probably the most fun endurance race in the Berkshires, and for me, that I get to do all year. All my friends are here. It's the only event in endurance sports where you're coming around every corner and there's a line of people cheering you on. It's an amazing event. With that said, with that many people on the road, running, paddling, all the transitions, it can be dangerous. So, couple points, tips, tricks to make your ride safer. Number one, the start is going to be across the street from the Price Chopper parking lot in downtown Great Barrington. There's going to be signs set up for different estimated times. If you think you're going to ride the course in an hour 20, don't line up with the people who are going to ride the race in an hour 5. It's going to cause problems and chaos in the group. And the same thing is, if you're really an hour 5 cyclist, don't line up with the hour and a half people, because you're going to have to work your way and pass through everybody in the first couple miles of the race, and it's dangerous. So do your best to honestly line up with the people that are similar ability levels to yourself. One other thing that I think is super important as far as being safe during the Josh Billings is the transition point. So everybody knows the cycling route. You come down that last downhill into the boat launch where the turnover is. There's an absolute cluster of people there, tossing batons to their canoeists, turning into the parking lot. If they're doing the Ironman or Iron Woman segment of the event, be careful. It's not the finish of the race. It's just the finish of the bike ride. You're not racing for a place at the end of the day. Let your runner bring it on home and get the glory, because that is another place that can be a little bit sketchy. With that said, besides all the kind of warnings about the Josh Billings, it's an awesome event. We'll all be there with the van at the finish line, you know, giving each other pats on the backs. And if you're not riding this year, at the very least, I would encourage everybody to come out and visit and say hello and watch the action, because it's pretty inspiring. That's the Josh Billings. Now, I'm gonna give an update about my weekend, what was supposed to happen and what actually happened. So a bunch of us here at the bike shop have been talking about learning how to do backflips on our bicycles this year. Shout out to Forrest, he knows how to do them. You've seen the photos and the videos on Instagram, and Tucker, myself, and Leo thought, we could probably figure that out. So we decided to all go on an adventure up to Highland Mountain in New Hampshire, where they have a foam pit, a resi ramp, and then a dirt jump that are all pretty similar. So you can start on the foam pit and learn it with pretty low risk. Take it to the resi ramp, which is a ramp that has a very soft landing. Once you have that figured out, you go onto the dirt and you make it happen. Tucker was up there, he was there a day before, he learned them onto the foam pit, he was sending us videos, they were looking smooth. I was nervous to go to bed that night, but excited because I was like, you know what, I could probably figure this out. How hard can it be? 7 o'clock, I pick Leo up, he's got his shoes on, he's got his helmet on, he's rip-roaring, ready to go, and ready to ride with all of his gear on 3 hours to New Hampshire to give this thing a shot. And it told me that he'd been watching how to do backflips on your bicycle videos for the last night or two. So we were ready to go. 2 hours into it, my car goes clunk, and then chirp, and then tick, 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 and we pretty much knew right away our trip was over. I won't get too deep into the details of what's wrong with the car because it's not that fun to talk about, but it's broken. We go throughout our day, we're not having that much fun, but we're keeping it positive, and Tucker's sending us videos, which hopefully you're watching right now as I'm talking. So Tucker went to Highland, he learned backflips in the foam pit, he then stuck them on the resi ramp, and he did 2 successfully from a dirt jump to a dirt landing and rolled away. So if you see Tucker at the bike shop this week, come by, give him a pat on the back, give him a thumbs up. He certainly deserved it. Last but not least, I will say, if you want to know why you're not going to shift your electric bike in 3 or so years from now, and we're all going to be riding automatics, there'll be a link to that video in this description. And then, like I always say, when talking about endurance sports, round up for distance and round down for time. See you next time.